Go.
Okay, so I will start again. I'm going to talk about the latest work that has been going on GNOME and Wayland to better support drawing tablets. So this is not new. The GTK and GNOME has had a long relationship with tablets. There was some rudimentary support for tablets in GTK2 already through Xinput 1, which wasn't the best API ever, precisely. So yeah, things could improve, and they did. Xinput 2 was released. It was quite a refactory in the X server for dealing with input, and GTK3 took advantage of it, which meant that you no longer had to configure a tablet nor configure it explicitly in the application and whatnot. You would just receive events. You use a tablet, and you would be receiving already the full range of access that were supported and whatnot. And since GNOME 3.4, I think it was, GNOME gained some panel to actually configure drawing tablets, which was actually useful because, the other option was the command line and obscure text files to configure the X server, so that was quite an improvement already. In GTK, as I said, we started using Xinput 2, which provides, so to say, a single tree of devices which all drive the cursor. Xorg, the X server is quite an old dinosaur, so it came around when the mice were actually a brand new invention to deal with UIs. So it was mostly focused on keyboards and pointers. So everything had to fit roughly in, and the end result was that a drawing tablet and stylus and whatnot would drive the pointer cursor, and it would be seen as a mouse, even though it's not. But it already supports a few axes, like pressure and tilt. X and Y is a given, of course, in pointers, but pressure and tilt they are features from tablet that mice obviously don't have, and they were already supported. But, for example, let's get that part later. So in GNOME, these pads, which are the sets of buttons and wheels and strips and tactile strips in tablets, they were completely alien to the X server because they are not quite a keyboard, but they are not quite a mouse. So the pragmatic approach in GNOME was just to abstract that entirely from applications. Applications wouldn't see paths directly, and GNOME would translate the path events to key combos, which means that pressing a button would spawn a control plus or control minus for zoom in or whatever the application is. Whatever the application would want. But the downside of that is that the key combos, they are very far from generic. So yeah, it varies from application to application. So it's kind of useful, but it could be even more. GNOME also allows to configure pressure curves for the stylus. So that's different tablets have different sensitivities, so and different designers have different tastes as well. So yeah, that's pretty basic. It also allowed and still does to map tablets to displays. So, for example, in setups where you have multiple displays, you want a tablet only deal with one display, or you can flip between them and whatnot. And you can also configure the stylus and whatnot to have either relative or absolute motion. So relative would be more mouse-like. So you can keep moving the mouse further and whatnot, and absolute would map the whole tablet frame to a display. So if you of a sudden move the stylus to the other side of the screen, the pointer would work to the other side of the screen as well. Yeah, but now we got Wayland. We are no longer restricted by damn old code. It is. So, yeah, for example, these restrictions, I was studying the X server just knows about pointers and keyboards, and everything that falls in between has to be roughly adapted to each of those, to either of those. So right now we have the possibility to create protocols to communicate between applications and the compositor, which are quite more fine-grained. They can be quite more verbose, and they can be quite better tailored, which was a very good thing for tablets. So as a result, clients got more control over the actual input instead of having a stack of middlemen trying to deal with input on behalf of the application. Yeah, so for example, focusing at the moment on tablet tools. Tablet tools, they are the stylus, and there's a full range of those. Wacom has been very prolific at doing hardware, so there's lots of stylists that can apply. There's also mice that you can use over the tablet, which, well, all of that was very roughly supported. So now you can actually have tools actually identifying themselves, as in providing, well, actually saying that, yeah, I'm an airbrush, I'm a mouse, I'm a simple pen, and whatnot. So the application can make use of that. And they also provide serial numbers, which is static to the hardware device itself. So each time you use that stylus, is the software can actually recognize it as such, as a single entity. So you can configure, create configuration for it and whatnot, and you can trust that on future runs it will just work the same. We now have support for the full range of access that every device of this many styli can provide. For example, as additional access, we have now distance rotation and the airbrush wheel and mouse wheel, etc. And one major difference with tablet support is that each tool gets its own on-screen cursor, so they don't make the pointer work around the screen anymore. You can use separate tools and they get its own on-screen cursor, and the mouse cursor is left alone. And going to tablet pads, as I said, the sets of buttons and wheels and whatnot, the clients, the applications actually get full control of those instead of being translated into key combinations. they can actually receive the events themselves and deal with them. They are no longer a mouse, or kinda, because they, as I told, you have to choose in the X server whether something is a mouse or a keyboard, and there's a lot less things that apply as a keyboard than as a mouse. So paths were actually kind of wrong, as in following the pointer, and you would press the button and the button event would go to where the pointer is, but that doesn't represent what a path actually is. So they now follow the keyboard focus semantics, so you have an application focus and you press a button in the path and the event goes to it, not where the pointer is, not where the tool is, etc. And another advantage of the Wayland protocol is that the clients can actually notify back to the compositor about the purpose of a button inside the application UI. So this can be used for feedback purposes. I don't know if you've seen the GNOME Wacom control panel, where you can get an overview of the tablet with the buttons and with the actions besides. And right now they can actually get verbose descriptions and translated descriptions from the application, as opposed to Control+, Control-, Control-X, and Control-Q, and stuff like that. So, jumping to GTK, well, this gets a bit more technical. We have, as I told earlier, we now have multiple cursors, each tool driving its own cursor, so we don't have any longer a single device tree. We now have multiple trees where each tablet is driving the master device. The master device would be the actual cursor you see on the screen. So, and each of those is driven by slave devices, which would represent the actual hardware. So now each tablet gets their own master device, which is a slight change in the hierarchy. And they have at least two slave devices, which are the stylus and eraser. And the path, obviously, if the tablet has a path, you would get a GTK device for the path as well. A new entity in GTK would be the GTK device tool, which actually represents the stylus, and it's the entity where you can get the serial number from and whatnot. It's static during the program lifetime, so it's unchanged. You can actually use it as a fixed pointer or as a key in tables and whatnot. You can use it during the application lifetime to attach some settings to it. And of course, the tool ID and the serial number can be used to identify that same device across runs, as in you can figure in GIMP the pressure curve and whatnot, and they can actually stay for that single stylus across runs. You with GIMP, you start it again, and it works. So, yeah, the GTK device tool gets attached to a device when you use it. So you receive events from GTK devices, but you can pick the GTK device tool that goes in these events. And another important feature is that tools can move between GTK devices because, well, there's professional setups and whatnot where people has multiple compatible tablets between themselves, and they can use the same stylus on either of those. So the stylus would get the same serial number, it would get the same pointer during the application lifetime, as I was telling, and it just gets related to one device or the other when it's being used. And that devices, this is entirely new with this new support, and we now get proper events instead of just key events which you don't know where they actually come from. We get GDK event path button and axis, and well, what I haven't talked about groups. If you know, there's tablets which actually have, for example, a button with LEDs, which actually represent different modes. So if you have a tablet with 8 buttons and 4 modes, you can practically map 32 actions to the tablet by changing modes. And on the lowest level, we get the GDK events. They are propagated and bubbled as usual across the hierarchy, following the keyboard focus semantics. And then we have GDK path controller, which is an implementation of an event controller is a higher level abstraction in GTK that receives events and does something in result. For example, GTK gesture, which Simon talked about earlier, is one of such event controller implementations. And so we have a specific one for paths. And this allows to do very high level assignment of actions to buttons and axes in the tablet, of course taking modes into account, and it allows it to provide the feedback to the implementation, which I talk about. It's this object which actually gives back to the compositor this information, which can be used for the compositor UI. But in GNOME, it's also used for to actually change the UI in the tablets that support it. There's also tablets which have OLED screens besides the buttons, which can be updated from the computer. So you can actually show, as in zoom in, zoom out, invert selection and whatnot in the tablet itself. So yeah, tablet support. This has changed a little bit. We already have some configuration UI, as you might know, but it was kind of ad hoc. You got the tablets, and then it tried to say, this tablet can have this many stili, so it tried to cram everything in the UI. But right now, the tablets and tools, they are separate entities. As I told, they also can move across tablets, so they've been separated. And you have, the same happens at the session level. You have one configuration for each tool, regardless of the tablet it's being used with. And we got the on-screen display for path. It's basically a cheat sheet for the actions that a tablet may have or a path. And they actually show the feedback that the applications give it through the GTK path controller. And they actually change, this feedback actually changes across focus changes. So you are on GIMP, you press the show on-screen display button, and you get the feedback that GIMP gives you. But if you switch to Inkscape, for example, and you press the on-screen display button, you could get the feedback that Inkscape could give you, which is quite an improvement over key combos, where each application can implement whatever they please, and they also change with localization and whatnot, so that was a nightmare. And we, of course, also have to provide this backward compatibility through GNOME+wayland. These patches aren't marked yet, but hopefully it will happen soon, because we can't dump all these more than 30 years of history in applications, so there's still some support which is very similar to what we have. Actually, you can still configure in GNOME key combos. If you felt like it, you can still do that, but this is the new supported way, and this would be the preferred way to actually tablets configure. And I think I made it really short, so questions?
I have a question. I guess the important audio is here. So, are these bound to GNOME or to Wayland? So, is it possible to have another window manager and still have this feature?
I mean, well, the protocol has been, has been devised, not just me alone. Indeed, I've been doing with other people. I stand on the shoulders of giants, but the protocol is pretty much generic. The only tiny bit that could be maybe specific, but not really, is this UI feedback for pads, and it's as easy as ignoring that if you don't want anything to do with that. But yeah, the protocol is there, and the KDE guys, I hope they'll eventually get to it as well.
Okay. So, more questions?
Rotation was not spotted with this? Rotation? Stylus rotation was not spotted with it?
I'm not sure. Okay. I think it was added. Or maybe not. Maybe I lied.
No, I don't know. We never got it, but now I know. Unfortunately, we never got it because it was not spotted.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it was. If it was, in my regard, it was entirely untested.
But I think him doesn't have any support anymore.
When you said that you have like a cursor per device, right? Like for the stylus and the mouse, would we be able to use it at the same time? Like two people working on the same two inputs, like?
Yeah, it would be. Well, it also requires some support from the compositor, because usually you have only one focused application. So if you are trying to poke two separate windows with the same tool, with two different tools, you might get the compositor trying to focus one on the other.
No, but let's say two people like painting on the same app with two devices.
Yeah, pretty much. You actually get all this information with this GDK device trees I was mentioning about. You can actually, this is the GDK device is something you receive from events. So you actually would get two separate streams of events. Of course, they would be put together, they would be channeled together, but you can actually distinguish which event belongs to which device and which tool. So yeah, the application can actually do that.
I have one question. Maybe I didn't get it, but sometimes it's quite convenient to, for example, use the tablet to map to the whole screen and switch between applications and basically use the tablet to control the mouse pointer. Would this still be possible, or?
Well, no, you won't control the mouse pointer, but the compositor should react as if you did.
Okay.
So on that same note, how easy is it to context switch and to set up these configurations? So, like if you have it locked into a drawing service within an application, what's the user interface pathway for switching back to full screen or something like that?
Full screen, yeah. What? Can you
So I thought you discussed the tablet could be mapped to specific areas of the screen, like the application could sort of take control of it.
That's not supported yet.
Oh, okay.
That's not supported yet.
No problem.
It's in the plans because that's one of the things we are missing from the other days. That actually the application could grab to a portion of the screen, but we currently just support full screen mapping.
Okay.
Or the full desktop size.
So you talked about the tools configurations where one stylus is mapped to something or one or another. What's the user interface pathway for doing that? Is that something? Would there be a control panel for that, or is it application specific?
You can have both.
Okay.
No, this is the old. Sorry, this is the older version. I didn't have the time to update this computer. But we provide some minimal settings on the GNOME control center side, which is basically pressure for tablets, and the mapping of the buttons inside the stylus. But of course the application can have its extra set of settings. Any further questions?
Nana has a doubt here, where you said like you have, let's say, 4 buttons, where you said you could then it could become like 34 functions or something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So would this be like per program? Like you say, I would like the GIMP to have like these functions and these buttons, and then Inkscape could have these other functions and these buttons.
Yeah, you can configure each application as you please, supposedly. When they make use of that, I'm talking.
The application needs to implement it.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, this is something that applications have to take advantage of. It won't happen out of the box for them.
Actually, also the drawing part, you say drawing with the stuff, probably most likely the application will need also to allow this, because I think Indian people don't want. It will get crazy, I guess. I don't know. We should try it.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward for GIMP to move to GTK3. Inkscape already uses GTK3 as far as I remember, so that's very good. I should be poking them so they make use of these APIs, because that's quite an improvement, but it will also require some UI in the application, so you can configure the action, or you can assign actions to buttons or whatnot. So, is that it? Okay, thanks for coming.